WKHM. Greg promised me yesterday he'd be back in time
Although
for the Thinking Real Estate program. Oh, your mic's not on just yet. Hold on a sec.
Oh.
But that's okay. It's okay that he's not, because it is my pleasure to be here with the Schlechte Group and Thinking Real Estate.
Is the mic on now?
The mic is on now. Laura Dwyer Schlechte. Good morning and welcome.
Someone told me he might be a little late.
Well, he was doing the Toy House, toy drive today.
What time did that start?
I started at 6 o'clock this morning.
Wow.
Yeah. Early morning.
I was dreaming about it.
You were
at 6.
Picking up Hinckley's Donut and donating some toys. What better way to start off your Thursday morning?
Wow.
The only better way I can think of to start off your Thursday morning is to go through some official ballots for the Best of Jackson, the Reader's Choice ballots, which I look under the Best Real Estate Company, and amongst a variety of companies.
Right, but the last one is the best.
There's one that stands out above all others.
That's right.
Right. So you gave me, Laura, at least half a dozen ballots. You want me to fill each one of these out?
Well, apparently you can go into the Jackson magazine.
These Chicago-style politics here, Laura?
That's exactly right. So you can go into the Jackson...
Gangnam style.
Gangnam style.
So you can go into, let's see, October, November, and December's Jackson magazine, and they have ballots in there, and you can tear the ballot out, fill it in, and mail it in.
Okay.
And pick Thinking Real Estate.
Well, now, Laura, we obviously know which one is your favorite real estate company.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So which one's your favorite date night restaurant, Laura, as I asked with your husband sitting next to you?
Well, actually, we have... there were several on there I like.
Oh, well,
just depends on the
Can't
mood.
you just pick one?
No.
Well, you probably have to pick one for the ballot, but we go to several of the restaurants in town. And I would hate to single one out over the other.
They all have different...
That's such a non-committal answer.
Well, but they have different cuisine, different ambiance, and you go to different ones.
Different price points.
You know? Yeah, right.
All right.
So I wouldn't want to...
You're not going to pick one?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to say one is better than the other, because they're different.
Okay.
But there are some on there, not restaurants, but some categories that I had no clue.
See, I asked that one instead of asking which one was your favorite bank, because that one could be a sticky one for you.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And since I do workouts, I can give you an order of priority, which are the most difficult and which are more...
We love our local banks, though. They're the best.
I would say the local lenders are a lot easier to deal with from a lawyer's perspective, doing workouts than dealing with the big national companies.
Although I don't think there are any national ones on there either.
Probably not. Probably just local lenders.
Let me see here. Well, Citizens Bank, Comerica.
Well, that's regional.
Well, Citizens still regional.
Well, Comerica's probably the biggest one in there.
Bank of America. I don't think that's local.
No,
is Bank of America on there?
Is BOA on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, because I'm thinking they have credit unions on there, too.
Well, that's their own
in a separate category.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, enough about best of. Let's talk about Thinking Real Estate.
You can go online too, and jacksonmagazine.com and vote.
If you're interested in
and
real estate.
And you can do both,
category.
actually.
There you
Just
go.
make sure Thinking Real Estate.
And you can vote how many times on a computer?
Just one time. It tracks the IP address.
So go to as many computers as you can.
Yeah, computers.
Go down to the library.
I was going to say.
Computers there.
That's where you're going next, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great idea, Bill. You are really thinking.
Yeah, thanks.
Next year will be favorite lawyers. You'll be on the list.
Yeah, okay.
That's all right. You're always her favorite, Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Depends upon, just like a restaurant, depends upon the mood. Okay.
Anyway.
Or the price point.
Anyway, Thinking Real Estate.
Hey, you know what I wanted to talk about?
No.
I want to talk about how consumers find properties. I ran into someone who has their property listed with an out-of-town realtor. And it's not in the local multiple listing services. So I came across...
Why are you looking at me? That has nothing to do with law.
This is the quietest
yeah, but it has nothing to do with me.
Well, no, we can roll it into that.
Go for it.
So I found this article, and it says most consumers go to the website to look for real estate. Our local websites. Did you know that? Are there things on websites that we ought not be saying about houses that are illegal?
Well, no, the website advertising is no different from any other advertising for a real estate licensee. The occupational code and the administrative rules require that you cannot misrepresent the facts. So you have to describe the property accurately. If it's only 1,500 square feet and you advertise it as 2,000 square feet, that's a misrepresentation. That's a violation of the law. On the other hand, if you say this property is a cream puff, or you describe it in glowing terms, that's simply called puffing, is the legal term of art, and that's not a misrepresentation of fact. And then you also want to make certain that you don't advertise in a discriminatory fashion. You know, you can't advertise it as a good family home or things like that, because you can't discriminate on the basis of familial status. But internet advertising is no different in terms of legal regulation than advertising elsewhere.
Plus, there's discriminatory, right? Fair housing laws.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. In terms of that, you don't advertise this as a
family home.
Family home, or a handyman special is one of the things that I think shows up on the no-no list.
Because I could be a handy woman.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I actually defended a couple, an elderly couple. This has got to be 15 years ago, who had advertised for rent, property for rent, and they wanted it to a married couple because, according to them, only a husband was capable of taking care of the property, repairing, etc. And a complaint was filed against them with the Fair Housing Commission, and we actually settled it because it was a violation of the law. So that's what you want to talk about today, is internet?
Well, no, there's other
because I want to talk about conflict of interest.
Right, I know you do.
Right.
And so we have a conflict of interest right now, then.
Yeah, so not just today. Okay, it happens all the time.
This is a demonstration.
You know, Mark, who usually wins the conflict of interest?
Not you.
It is not me.
And you're the trained arguer here in the family.
That's exactly right. I'm the trial lawyer, and I lose every single argument with her.
As it should be. As it should be. The second way people find homes are yard signs. So people who don't put signs out in front of their yards are doing themselves a disservice if they want to get their property sold.
Yeah.
No comment?
No, I mean, the only legal part of that is some municipalities had adopted ordinances prohibiting for sale signs, and that was struck down in Michigan. But they can limit where you can put it. You can't put it out in the extension. They can limit size, that sort of thing. And then you got to remember too, if you're selling a condominium that's not regulated by ordinance, if the condominium association bylaws or regulations prohibit putting a sign in the window or anywhere on the property, then you're not going to be able to do a yard sign, etc. So you have to follow whatever those rules and regulations are. That may also be true of a subdivision. I don't know whether, for example, Stonebridge and some of the others have regulations against signs, but I bet that they do. Against certain signs.
What about when someone is giving you maybe like a misleading representation? They describe the kitchen as cozy as opposed to small.
That's no problem. That again, the descriptive language, an adjective which describes it in terms of its qualities, cozy, warm, snug, spacious, all that sort of stuff. I mean, if you're only 5'3", the kitchen is a lot more spacious than if you're 6'8". Okay. There's a great Laura and I actually went, and there's a property up north where it looked like the kitchen was designed for giants.
Oh, unbelievable!
All the ceilings were high, the cupboards were all high, the stools
reach.
were high. It looked like a stage, a play setting where giants were going to portray.
And they even had a chair that if you sat in it, you looked like Lily. Is it Lily Thomas when she did the
Tomlin?
Yeah, when she did the phone. Yeah. So anyway, but those descriptions are okay. It's when you make an actual misrepresentation.
Our kitchen is cozy.
But let me also, from a realtor's point of view, if you make a misrepresentation, or if you as a consumer feel aggrieved by what a real estate licensee did, I spent all yesterday afternoon down at the offices in Detroit of the licensing and regulatory agency defending 3 individuals and a corporation on a complaint which was raised by a consumer, an anonymous consumer. You can file a complaint anonymously. It was investigated, and there were some trust account and other accounting, how do I describe them, anomalies that we were addressing before the department. So a consumer has that ability. You don't need a lawyer to do this. You simply contact the licensing and regulatory agency. If you think that your realtor or real estate licensee is screwed up or has done something wrong, they will investigate it, and it doesn't cost you anything to do it.
Sorry to take you off track, Laura.
Yeah, sorry,
No, you're
Laura.
fine.
Okay, I didn't mean to take you off track. And
I'll interrupt you if I don't like
we'll
what
talk
you're
about if it's next week or whenever you invite me back, if you ever invite me back. I'd
It's
like to talk,
becoming
I want to talk
slimmer.
about conflict of interest for real estate licensees and for lawyers, because I was recently involved in a case involving a great example of conflict of interest with respect to how lawyers act, and it relates also to real estate licensees. But
Okay.
we'll forget about that for a day.
All right, and then the third way that people found homes were through a recommendation, the neighbor, close friend, relative. Another statistic that I found that was interesting is that of the 71, wait, let me think how this goes. 91% of the people find their home, they start searching through the internet.
Okay.
So the remaining of the 17% of the remaining 9%, whatever that works out to,
Whatever.
bought a for sale by owner. So if you're for sale by owner, your odds are pretty slim of getting sold. Or,
You keep looking at me as if I should
well, I
add
just
something to
would
that
like to see if
conversation.
you've got a comment.
Yeah, but it's a non-legal comment.
Well,
It's
that's
a-
all right. You're not always a lawyer, are you?
Always. I celebrated 40 years as a lawyer yesterday,
Oh, my
so I'm
God.
always a lawyer. But I guess the point I would make is that you need representation, and I'm not talking about legal representation.
Right.
If I were buying real estate right now, and I didn't have you as my wife and / agent or whatever, okay, what I would definitely go get a buyer's agent, because it doesn't cost me anything. Because the most people don't understand how the MLS works. When the property's listed in the multiple listing service, that listing agent or broker is going to pay compensation to a buyer's agent or to a sub agent, and if they're not going to pay a commission to a buyer's agent, they're making a huge mistake as the listing agent. So all I'm saying to you is it just doesn't make sense to do FSBO. You're not going to save anything. You want the advice of a real estate licensee to help guide you through the process, and that's the way that it should work, and you get a much better deal. in
Plus,
those circumstances.
if the realtor has the insight on where the marketing is, who's more likely to buy that house. And this article also says
Well, not only
most
that,
people-
they'll have the inside track too in terms of knowing what else is available and the ability to negotiate based upon what those alternatives are. In other words, if I'm negotiating, the best negotiating strategy or plan is to be able to walk away. If I can walk away and I have another option, I can simply say, no, I'm not going to accept that particular deal. Whereas a FSBO, you're limited in terms of what the options are, and then second of all, you just don't know what all those options are, and you don't know how to negotiate it.
Right, and in this world, you've got to deal with lending. Appraisal's huge issue. Gosh, all the places that we as realtors market our properties now, I don't think a for sale by owner can touch that.
I'm probably asking the wrong people here, but then why would someone choose to put a house up and sell it themselves? I guess I am
They-
asking the wrong people.
they-
No,
They think
I
they're gonna-
I was waiting for her to answer, but we talked about this the other day. It's stupidity. Seriously.
Well, and they think they're going to save
they
the
think they're going to save
commission.
money on the commission, and when in fact they're not going to save money on the commission.
And you think about it, a buyer buying a for sale by owner thinks they're going to save, they're going to get a lower price because they're saving commission, and the seller thinks they're going to save commission by getting a higher price. So there's a conflict of interest.
Let me tell you the way it works. On an MLS, how many members are there in the Jackson MLS? 300 and some?
About 300.
Let's just
down.
say 300. I'm a listing agent, so I put it on the MLS. I now have 299 other agents who are screwing around, particularly if I'm getting 7% commission, for example, and this is just as an example. I'm not suggesting that the commission is 7%, et cetera, for antitrust purposes, but if it's 7%, if I'm a listing agent, I'll offer 4% to any of the 299 agents that brings me a buyer, because they're all going to be scurrying around looking for a potential buyer. Whereas if it's a FSBO, a for sale by owner, there's nobody out there looking for a potential buyer for that property, because the realtors who are representing buyers or working with buyers, they're not going to bring them to a FSBO that's not going to pay a commission, or is going to try and get a nominal amount that they'll pay for bringing a buyer. So I want my property listed with an agent that's on the multiple listing service, so that everybody else out there is going to buy. And the other thing that if I'm a seller and I'm listing my property, I'm going to look for an agent that isn't going to do the exact opposite. There's some agents that will take, let's use the 7% again as an example. The listing agent will say, I'll keep 4%, but I'm going to pay 3%. Now, got to understand, under antitrust law, the other 299 agents in the MLS don't know what that commission is that's being paid to the listing broker. They don't know if it's 6%, they don't know if it's 10%. But if I'm a seller and I'm going to pay 7%, I want to make certain that at least 50% of that amount is going to the selling agent, that my listing agent isn't keeping the 4%, him or herself, and giving only 3% out. Because that's only one person out of the 300. I want the other 299 working their butts off to find a potential buyer.
And if it's a for sale by owner, I have to then negotiate. If I've got a buyer for that house, I then also, not only do I have to negotiate the purchase agreement, I have to negotiate what I'm going to get paid. So there's two negotiations that I'm going to have to deal with, as opposed to selling a house that's already listed with somebody.
And if I'm a buyer and I'm hiring a buyer's agent, you know, they sit there and say, well, why should I agree to pay buyer's agency commission? As a buyer, I actually want to be paying my person, because we are going to get it back. Under 99% of the cases, we're going to get it paid out of the listing commission, but I still want that buyer's agent responsible to me. And the instant that the commission agreement with a buyer's agent is dependent solely on the deal with another listing agent or listing broker, now the loyalty is shifted, and this gets into the conflict of interest that I wanted to talk about today, but it's just sort of a corollary to
Boy,
it.
is he feeling slighted
But
or what?
it's a corollary to it. In other words, the problem with most consumers who are buying and selling houses is they have no clue how the marketplace works. They need to get some information. They all think about saving money in commission. They all think about, I'm not going to pay the buyer's agent. Well, they don't have to, but I want it so that the compensation arrangement is, I'll pay my buyer's agent, but I get a credit back for whatever's paid out of the listing commission. That way I know that buyer's agent is working for me. And the last thing I want is I have a buyer's agent, and now all of a sudden that office represents a seller, so now it's a dual agency. Now they're not really working for me. That troubles me greatly, and we'll talk about that.
Well, although in today's market we have fewer realtors, therefore you run into dual agency a lot more today than you did a couple years ago.
But I want the person that's encountering a dual agency to understand that at that point, the real estate licensee or that office has a conflicting, they have a conflicting duty, and they are required to advise the buyer and seller of the conflicting duty, and most good agents or all good agents will do that, but still, now that conflict exists, and both parties have to understand that and be willing to seek advice elsewhere, or at least understand that they need to be careful in terms of title work, etc., because they don't have that agent working solely for that person. Sorry to sound so obscure about it, but we'll have to talk about it.
I always tell my buyers and sellers, if I've got a dual, well, even when I'm just starting to work with them, don't tell me the most you'll pay for a property, and don't tell me the lowest you'll go as a seller.
I have a feeling that we didn't quite cover everything that you wanted to cover here
that's
today.
okay.
But we're almost
I just
out of
wanted
time.
to stimulate conversation.
Okay.
Did I do that?
I think so.
Yeah.
We'll have
How
to
can we
take.
almost be out of time?
It just happens that way.
Greg lets me roll into your time frame.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
You know the highlight of this show, though, is instead of me in the background, we have Greg O'Connor
Oh
in the
yeah, that's
background.
exactly right. He'll be on the next. You'll have to go to our website, thinkingrealestate.com, and look at the video so you can see Greg in the background.
Very good.
And then compare it to the other shows where you can see Mark 99%.
And I haven't
of the
waved at the camera in a long time. I might have to do that again.
What is up? Next week we wear a Santa hat because we're getting closer to.
Closer and closer. All right. Thanks, guys, for coming in. Appreciate
All right.
it. Jackson's very own News Talk 970, WKHM.